And we can move on to item 1.2 of our agenda, which is roll call. And I ask our clerk, Jessie Clark, to please call a roll.
Thank you. Mayor Lamstead, are you present?
I am present.
Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
Present.
Councillor Franzen?
Present.
Councillor Braybrook?
Present.
Councillor Cadigan?
Present.
For staff, we have Donna Taggart, CIO. Steve Brockbank, Director of Emergency Services.
Present.
Evan Grieger, Director of Public Works.
Present.
Eric Gay, Director of Building and Planning, CBO.
Present.
Adele Arbor, Planner.
Present.
Bianca Dragicevic, Deputy Clerk. Present. Derek Bertram, Planning Technician.
Present.
Matt Winches, Supervisor of Waste Public Works Coordinator.
Present.
And Duncan Anderson, Municipal Law Enforcement Officer.
Present.
And Jesse Clark, Director of Corporate Services, Clerk, is present.
Okay, thank you very much, Jessie. We can move on now to item 1.3 of our agenda, which is land acknowledgement and moment of reflection. Trent Lakes, we respectfully acknowledge that Trent Lakes in Peterborough County are located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nation, which include Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. Trent Lakes respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. We will now take a moment to reflect on these principles and our duties and responsibilities as members of council. Thank you, everyone in the gallery and council and staff. We can move on now to item 2 of our agenda, which is the approval of the agenda as circulated. I would entertain a motion for same. Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a mover and Councillor Braybrook for a seconder. Any conversation about the agenda? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Now we can move on to item 3 of the agenda, which is disclosure of pecuniary interest. If any member of council has a pecuniary interest on the item on the agenda, please disclose it now or anytime during the meeting prior to discussing anything that you have a pecuniary interest in. And I see Councillor Franzen.
Yep. 8.1 and 3.1 regarding the contract renewal.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Franzen. I'm sure we will be reminded that you have to step out of the meeting when we're discussing those items. Thank you. Any further disclosures of pecuniary interest? I'm seeing none. We can move on to item 4 of our agenda, which is the adoption of the minutes. We have minutes from our regular council meeting from February 3rd, our statutory public meeting from February the 3rd, and our environmental advisory committee meeting from February the 5th. To make
Motion to receive all 3 items.
3, okay. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any conversation about those 3 items? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Now we can move on to item 5.2 of our agenda, which is liaison reports for council boards and committees. Does anyone have any liaison reports? I am seeing none. We can now move on to racing through our agenda. We better slow down. Move on to item 6 of our agenda, which is our statutory public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act. So I entertain a motion to suspend our regular meeting and go into a public meeting. Councillor Braybrook for a mover, Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. We are now in a public meeting and our regular meeting is suspended. Okay, we can move on to item 6.1, and I think, Derek, you have a preamble before we start.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lamstead, members of council, this is a public meeting under Section 34 of the Planning Act to consider an amendment to the municipality's comprehensive zoning bylaw, B 2014-070. The notice of today's public meeting was containing the prescribed information was circulated to all landowners within 120-meter radius of the subject lands at least 20 days prior to this meeting, and a sign was posted on the subject lands in accordance with the Planning Act. The notice was also mailed to all prescribed agencies, public bodies, and persons in accordance with the regulations. Anyone wanting to be notified of any decision from today's public meeting must either inform either myself or the clerk, and a notice of passing will be mailed out to them, setting out the method and manner in which appeals may be made to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person does not send in written comment prior to the passing of the bylaw or make an oral submission at the public meeting, that person may not be entitled to appeal the decision.
Okay, thank you very much. That was Derek Bertram, our planning technician. I apologize for calling your first name because we sit in his office frequently, so sometimes it's a first name basis. My apologies. And if you would like to introduce the first file, please.
Excellent. Thank you through you, Mayor Lambshead and members of council. On today's agenda, our first file, we have zoning bylaw amendment 2522 submitted by Agent Riley Martins of Timberline Custom Homes on behalf of Jessica Giles for the property located at 34 Fire Route 14. The purpose of the zoning bylaw is to replace a single detached dwelling located in the water yard and recognized floodplain. Through consultation with the municipality, the applicant has proposed to construct a 101.56 square meter or 1,093 square foot replacement dwelling having a partial second story with an attached open air deck. The replacement dwelling will improve the water yard setback to 16.1 meters from the existing 7.8 meters. In an effort to situate the dwelling as far back as possible in the recognized floodplain, the setback to the rear lot line abutting the Fire Route 14 shall be 0.6 meters or 2 feet. Whereas the setback to the traveled road will be approximately 2.5 meters or 8 feet. The applicant has submitted a floodplain assessment memo from Engage Engineering outlining recommended floodproofing measures to be undertaken to mitigate any flood hazards. The applicant has also proposed to construct a replacement accessory boathouse 1.63 meters or 5.34 feet from the southerly interior lot line. The replacement structure shall remove an existing encroachment and bring the subject lands into conformity with the zoning bylaw. The applicant has also provided a stage 1, stage 2 archaeological assessment prepared by Northeastern Archaeological Associates Limited with a clearance letter from the Ministry of Citizen and Multiculturalism. The applicant has entered into a site plan agreement with the municipality, which includes the recommendations for floodplain assessment memo, archaeological assessment, and shoreline restoration plan. There's a planning report on today's agenda from the municipality's external planner, Chris Jones, which is in support of the rezoning, and no comments have been received at this time for the application. And that concludes the summary of zoning bylaw amendment 2522, and I turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Derek Bertram. Okay, is there anyone in the gallery for or against this application? I'm seeing no hands. Is there anyone online that was for or against this application?
Seeing no hands.
Okay, is there any comments or questions from any members of council? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Lambshead. Just wanted to clarify, in the report, it says that a site plan agreement had been prepared, but I think you just said that that has been entered into by the applicant, so that is in place.
Yeah,
Okay,
through you, Mayor
that's-
Lambshead, that's correct.
That's
Yes.
important.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
good. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I just have one small comment. I'd like to see when things move out of that water yard a little bit, even though they encroach on a road, I'd far sooner encroach a little bit on the road than onto the water yards. Thank you for the applicants for moving that back a little bit more. Okay, I'm seeing no other comments or questions. Okay, if we would like, we can move Derek Bertram, our planning technician. We can move on to item 6.2 of our agenda.
Thank you. Through you once again, Mayor Lambshead, members of council. The second item on today's agenda is zoning bylaw amendment 2527, submitted by Christopher and Noreen Goodliff. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to fulfill a condition of provisional consent for file B7323 for the creation of a residential lot on Northern Avenue. The property in which the proposed lot is being severed from is currently zoned shoreline residential under the municipality's comprehensive zoning bylaw. The proposed lot will no longer contain shoreline frontage. Therefore, municipal staff have requested that the proposed lot be rezoned to rural residential. The applicant will be entering into a mitigation measures agreement, which shall include the recommendations of the natural heritage evaluation prepared by GHD. There is a planning report on today's agenda, which is in support of the rezoning, and no comments have been received for the application. And that once again concludes the summary of zoning bylaw amendment 2527. Turn the floor.
Thank you very much, Derek Bertram. Is there anyone in the gallery for or against this application? Please state your name for the records, and if you have something to say, please come to the desk.
My name is Christopher Randolph. I'm just a property owner, that's all.
Well, I don't think it's just the property owner. I think you are the property. Thank you for attending. If we have questions, we will ask you a question. Anyone online for or against this application?
Seeing no hands.
No hands. Does any members of council have any comments or questions? I'm seeing none. Looks like you're off the hook for answering questions. Okay, we can now move on to item 6.3 of our agenda. And Derek Bertram, would you please introduce the file?
Thank you. And the third item on today's agenda through you, Mayor Lambshead and members of council, is zoning bylaw amendment 2529, submitted by Jason Marshall of Marshall Design Studios on behalf of the property owner Nadine Scheifelberger for the property located at 173 Melody Bay Road. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is proposing to construct 2 open-air attached decks to a replacement dwelling currently under construction in the water yard. The as-of-right decking provision for structures in the water yard pertains specifically to adding decking to existing dwellings having been established prior to the adoption of the municipality's comprehensive zoning bylaw B 2014. The lakeside open-air deck is proposing to project 2.95 meters from the exterior wall of the dwelling with a gross floor area of 43.5 meters squared and shall be set back 16.57 meters from the high water mark. And the open-air deck facing Melody Bay Road shall project 1.83 meters from the exterior wall of the dwelling and have a gross floor area of 29.2 square meters and shall be set back 26.95 meters from the high water mark. There is a planning report on today's agenda, which is in support of the rezoning, and no comments have been received on behalf of the application once again, and that concludes the summary of the zoning bylaw amendment.
Okay, thank you very much. We can now have anyone in the gallery for or against this application? Seeing no hands. Is there anyone online for or against this application?
I have Jason Marshall. I'll unmute you now.
Hello, my name is Jason Marshall and I'm the applicant on the file, and I'm here if anybody has any questions for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Jason, for attending. Okay, does anyone on council have any comments or questions for Jason regarding this file? I'm seeing no questions, Jason. Anyone have any comments or questions at all, anywhere? Nothing. We're moving on. Okay, Derek Burcham, I think you can introduce file number 6.4, please.
Thank you. For the fourth and final item on today's agenda through you, Mayor Lamshead and members of council, is zoning bylaw amendment 2530 submitted by property owners Ben and Tiffany Sanderson for Buckhorn Narrows Resort located at 50 Fire Route 27. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to delete and replace an existing special exception zone, Taurus Commercial 5, which was originally approved in 2020 under bylaw B 2020-28, which permitted the construction of 4 attached open-air decks to rental cottages within the 30-meter water yard. The request today proposes to permit 2 additional attached open-air decks to rental cottages and to recognize an existing open-air attached deck to a rental cabin within the 30-meter water yard for a total of 7 decks. There is a planning report on today's agenda, which is in support of the rezoning, and no comments once again have been received on behalf of the application. And that now concludes the summary of the zoning bylaw amendment 2530.
Okay, thank you very much, Derek Burcham. Is anyone in the gallery here to speak for or against this application? I'm seeing no hands. Is there anyone online here to speak for or against this application?
I have Ben. No.
Ben?
I had okay, Ben Sanderson. I'll unmute you now. You'll also need to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, go
Yep,
ahead,
I'm Ben Sanderson for Buckhorn Narrows, and I support this.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have any other comments or questions?
Nope, not for me.
Okay. All right. Anyone on council have any comments or questions? Seeing none. Okay, we have no questions for you at this time, Ben. Thank you very much. So we can move on now to item 7 of our agenda, which is business arising out of the statutory public meeting, but I would need a motion to reconvene our regular meeting. Councillor Brabert for a mover, Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We are back into our regular meeting, and we can move on now to item 7 of our agenda, which is the actual business arising from our public meeting. And Derek Burcham, please introduce the file.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lamshead, members of council, there was a public meeting held for file 2522. Municipal staff are recommending the following: that council receive the report from the external planner for zoning bylaw amendment 2522, and further that council support zoning bylaw amendment file 2522, and staff have prepared a bylaw which is on today's agenda for council's consideration.
Okay, thank you very much, Derek. Is there anyone on the would like to make a motion? Councillor Brabert, go ahead.
Motion to receive and support.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. Any further conversation regarding this item? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried.
Point
Can you-
of order.
Sir, yes.
Seeing that 7.2, 7.3, and 7.4 staff are asking for support
Yes,
in all 3. Can we do all 3?
we can, I think. I'm not sure on the Planning Act part of that. Can we do all 3 of these for the in one motion?
Thank you through you, Mayor Lambshead, members of council. It would be better that each individual item receives its resolution in the off chance if there's an appeal or something of that nature for it to be specifically referenced if it
Okay.
does get received in that
Okay,
nature.
that answer your question, Councilor Mayor. Okay, we can move on to item 7.2 of our agenda. Derek Bertram, our planning technician, would you please speak to the file?
Thank you through you, Mayor Lambshead and members of council. Once again, there was a public meeting held for file 2527 and municipal staff are recommending the following. That council received the report from the planning technician and planner for zoning bylaw amendment file 2527 and further that council support zoning bylaw 2527 and staff have prepared a bylaw which is on today's agenda for council's consideration.
Okay, thank you very much. Great. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Councilor?
No, just motion to receive
Okay.
and support.
Okay, perfect. And do I have a seconder for that motion? Councilor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation about the item? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. And we can move on to item 7.3 of our agenda. And Derek Bertram, our planning technician, would you please introduce the file?
Thank you through you, Mayor Lambshead, members of council. There was a public meeting held for file 2529. The municipal staff are recommending the following. That council received the report from the planning technician and planner for zoning bylaw amendment file 2529 and further that council support zoning bylaw amendment 2529 and staff have prepared another bylaw which is on today's agenda for council's consideration.
Okay, does anyone on council have any comments or questions or are prepared to make a motion regarding this item? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Motion to receive and to support the zoning bylaw amendment.
Okay, thank you. And Councilor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation about this item? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Now we can move on to item 7.4 of our agenda and Derek Bertram, our planning technician, would you please introduce this file?
Thank you through you to Mayor Lambshead, members of council. The final item, there was a public meeting held for file 2530, which municipal staff are recommending the following. That council received the report from the plan technician and the planner for zoning bylaw amendment file 2530 and further that council support zoning bylaw amendment file 2530 in which staff have prepared a bylaw which is on today's agenda for council's consideration.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone have any comments or questions or is prepared to make a motion regarding this item? Councilor Franz?
A motion to receive and support.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Councilor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation about the item? Seeing no hands, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. I thought for sure Councilor Graber was putting his hand up there with that funny little smirk. I don't know. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Derek Bertram. Okay, we can move on to item 8 of our agenda, which is presentations. At 8.1 is Natalie Baker, Business Development Manager for the Ontario Clean Water Agency. Would you please come and do your presentation for us, please? And
Mayor Lambshead, I'll be leaving.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Franzen has declared a conflict of interest for this item. Or proceed. Of course, yeah.
Do I just say next slide as we proceed through?
Please,
And do I have to turn anything on here?
I think you're all good to go.
Pretty loud, so. Good afternoon, your worship, council, municipal staff. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Natalie Baker, Business Development Manager with the Ontario Clean Water Agency. Today, we also have Lynette Nicholson, who is the General Manager for the Kawartha Trent region, as well as Brent Martin, your Senior Operations Manager for the Central Cluster that looks after the facilities here in Trent Lakes. So our presentation today is focused around our contract renewal, and it is hard to believe that it has been 10 years already. When a contract nears its expiry date, Aqua drafts and submits a renewal proposal, and it's sent to our clients for review and approval. So this proposal outlines our Aqua experience profile, our partnership with Trent Lakes, and highlights Aqua's operational programs for your review. So today what I've done is summarized that proposal and put it into a presentation format for the same review and approval. So we can move to the next slide. So prior to 1993, all water and wastewater facilities were owned and operated by the Ministry of the Environment. When ownership was transferred back to the municipalities, the Ontario Clean Water Agency was created under the Capital Investment Plan Act and was designated as an operational enterprise agency. Aqua offers the best of both worlds. As a public agency operating for the public good with you and your residents as shareholders, and yet efficiently as a private company that doesn't receive any type of funding support from the province. We currently service more than 75% of the existing outsourced market in Ontario, and our clients are made up of municipalities, First Nations, industry, and institutions. Aqua has approximately 1,000 employees, providing a full range of technical and advisory services. The scale and scope of our operations is quite expansive. We operate one of the largest membrane filtration plants in North America, the world's largest municipal biosolids incineration complex, and some of the smallest communal systems in remote Ontario. We also have 5 emergency response teams across the province, and we will touch on that program a little bit later in the presentation of times of need for emergency response and what we've seen lately. Next slide, please. Aqua is more than just operations and maintenance, with various corporate resources, which include an engineering department, planning, construction management, training, as well as technical and advisory services like process optimization, energy management, and asset management. Our goal is to really assist clients in managing their water and wastewater facilities at every stage of the asset life cycle, and to help them ensure sustainability of their systems into the future. Next slide, please. So Aqua takes a shared services approach to operations, which allows us to find economies of scale and cost savings for our clients. This approach allows us to purchase bulk supplies and equipment province-wide, which produces savings that municipalities usually wouldn't see. We use a hub and spoke model to deliver services where larger operation contracts anchor the hub, and shared resources are deployed to the spokes or to the smaller clients. So an example of this would be the City of Kawartha Lakes is Aqua's 5th largest client. That would be something that would anchor the Kawartha Trent region. And then we deploy resources to our smaller clients like the Township of Minden Hills, the Municipality of Trent Lakes, the Township of Autonomy South Monaghan, and a lot of other corporate or industry like contracts. So this structure helps to facilitate the efficient sharing of management, administration, and operational systems to benefit our clients. The Municipality of Trent Lakes falls within that Kawartha Trent region, as I mentioned. We service 12 municipalities, 2 First Nations, and 16 other commercial clients out of this region. The Kawartha Trent region, represented in green here, also borders the Georgian Highlands region, which is close by, and services another 25 clients and 12 municipalities. Next slide, please. So Aqua has 11 regions across the province, and clients within a region may locally share management, operators, mechanics, process and compliance technicians, electricians, and instrumentation techs. The org chart here represents the central cluster, which services a total of 3 clients, including Trent Lakes, and includes 3 wastewater treatment facilities and 8 water facilities, all ranging from small class 1 systems to class 3 water and wastewater facilities. We currently have the Senior Operations Manager, Brent, who oversees the operations supervisor, operations and maintenance team lead, and numerous water and wastewater operators. This structure saves municipalities money because staff are shared across those clients and facilities, including those larger clients like I mentioned with the City of Kawartha Lakes. Our model provides our staff with a depth of support also behind the scenes. For example, our process and compliance technicians is shared between clients to lower costs, but is then further supported by a process and compliance manager, who is then further supported by our corporate compliance department. Next slide, please. So Aqua and the municipality have been in partnership since 2006, utilizing multi-year operating agreements. Aqua, on behalf of the Municipality of Trent Lakes, provides treatment and distribution services for Alpine Village, Pirates Glen, and Buckhorn Lake Estates, providing full operational responsibility for these municipal assets. All operations conform to Ontario's Drinking Water Quality Management Standard, also known as DWQMS 2.0, and are independently certified through SAI Global. A formal quality and environmental management system is implemented and maintained, addressing governance, operator capability, emergency management, and continual improvement. We also have regular internal audits that are conducted to verify compliance, effectiveness, and regulatory alignment. Next slide, please. So Aqua strives for 100% compliance in one of the world's most complex regulatory frameworks. So that covers water and health and safety. Both facilities owned by the municipality under Ontario Regulation 170 of the Safe Drinking Water Act are to receive annual inspections by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. The primary focus of this inspection is to confirm compliance with the ministry's regulations, as well as evaluating conformance with ministry drinking water related policies and guidelines during that inspection period. The ministry utilizes a comprehensive multi-barrier approach in the inspection of water systems, which includes source water, treatment, distribution, monitoring components, as well as management practices. So since 2016, Aqua has managed on behalf of the municipality 18 inspections by the Ministry of the Environment at the water treatment facilities. And we have had 15 of those receive 100% inspection rating. The hope was all of them, but in those remaining 3, we were still over 96% for those inspections. Next slide. So Aqua uses integrated systems to enhance service delivery and compliance. So these include our process data management, which is a centralized platform for field data, lab results, and instrumentation. So this is all used for reporting and analysis, as well as our asset maintenance system known as our computerized maintenance management system. This system avoids third-party costs, supports budgeting, and identifies high maintenance assets for replacement, which we'll go over the next couple slides. Next slide. So the computerized maintenance management system just described has allowed your operations team to tag and keep an inventory of all equipment owned by the municipality. So each piece of tagged equipment has a unique barcode and ID number, and the system schedules monthly, quarterly, and annual maintenance based on owner's manuals and best practices for that piece of equipment. So since the start of our current term, your operations team has completed 3,361 work orders. 2,417 were all preventative maintenance actions for the equipment to prolong the life of each asset. 634 were corrective, 94 were capital, and 216 were operational. Next slide. In addition to the computerized maintenance management system, every year Aqua provides a 6-year rolling major maintenance and capital expenditure list. This list requires pre-approval and obviously council approval, and we work with staff to prioritize project and meet the financial requirements while maintaining compliance. So this slide right here just gives you an idea of why some of those major maintenance recommendations would be put forward. So it could be under compliance, DWQMS, health and safety, repair and maintenance, life cycle replacement, improvement, or simply just spare parts inventory. And then we put a legend on them to let you know the level of importance. So if it needs to be done in the next year or 2, that would go under red. Yellow would be medium. We could spread out to maybe 3 years, and then gray gives you a little bit more time to prioritize the project. So maybe 4 to 5 years. Next slide, please. So since 2020, Aqua has managed just over 880,000 in capital projects for the municipality, fully aligned with all purchasing guidelines. These investments reflect Aqua and the municipality's commitment to maintaining and upgrading that infrastructure. As we mentioned, a cluster-based service delivery does help to reduce capital costs by allowing municipalities to share specialized expertise. So that could be planning resources and asset management support across multiple different systems. And that really helps to avoid duplication for capital planning and staffing resources in-house. Next slide. So as mentioned, Aqua has submitted a renewal proposal to the municipality. This proposal highlights Aqua's operating philosophies and experience working with the municipality, as well as any proposed revisions to the new operating term. So the proposal includes the initial term of 5 years, which differs a little bit than that initial term of 10 years during the last term. And we believe that 5-year term will provide Trent Lakes with a continuation of service, supporting system-wide improvements, stability for long-term programs, maintains consistent staffing, preserving knowledge and building team capacity, and enables extended tracking of asset maintenance, process performance, and compliance. Next slide, please. So I did want to bring attention to a few other programs that we have corporately on behalf of our clients. The first is our emergency response, and Aqua's emergency response team is Ontario's first responder in water and wastewater related emergencies. And we actually have 5 emergency response teams across the province. Each emergency response team is well equipped with a large trailer and spare parts, as well as emergency generator, and each come with a team of professionals that train on a regular basis to respond to emergency situations. So we have assisted many clients through many different emergency events, including major flooding, the 2003 provincial-wide blackout, the 2006 Central Ontario windstorm. We also played a critical role in the rehabilitation of the Walkerton water supply in 2000. Major flooding events, which is obviously represented in this slide here. This was actually in 2017 in the township of Minden Hills. And that little island there was actually their wastewater plant, where we had to draw a line over to the adjacent road to bring a boat across. But I mean, it does represent fine engineering with the shape around that wastewater plant. But our team was on site for 26 days straight, 24 hours during that event. And finally, ice storms. This picture here is actually just from Lynette Road. She lives in Trent Lakes, so what we went through last March. Alpine Village operated on generator power from March 29th to April 8th. The facility and the generator were monitored with propane refills coordinated about every 2 days. In addition, Buckhorn Lake Estates operated on generator power from March 29th to April 5th. The facility and the generator were monitored with propane refills coordinated. We did have to put in a temporary alarm system during the phone outage that we had there. And then we also had an electrician engaged to resolve some power related VFD issues. I will say we did not have to bring in our emergency response teams in that situation, but rest assured that they are available if we, knock on wood, ever had a worse emergency event. So next slide. So this photograph here represents Aqua's water buggy, which can be used for many different types of community events. The buggy prevents individuals, well, I guess it doesn't prevent, but it promotes the use of municipal water and refilling your water bottles instead of buying plastic water bottles. If you ever had a community event where you were looking to have the water buggy on site, you can reach out to any of us to bring that in. And one last program I wanted to chat about today was Aqua's One Water Education Program, which is on the next slide. So Aqua's One Water Education Program puts operators into grade 7 and 8 classrooms and client communities to show the importance of clean and safe drinking water and to teach kids about their local water and wastewater systems. It was born in 2014 out of the desire to strengthen and formalize our commitment to water literacy. We worked with a team of educators and Aqua operators to develop materials for grade 7 and 8 classrooms where we were already focused on water as part of the science curriculum. The program to date has had over 3,000 students go through it in our client communities. I've personally been involved in this program, and it's a great program for the kids. A lot of great questions, usually related to what comes down the pipes to a wastewater plant, but they seem to really enjoy it. And I am happy to report that the Buckhorn Public School has been added to the list to receive this program this year. So we're hoping to deliver that prior to the end of the term. So that today concludes my presentation. If you have any questions whatsoever, we would be happy to answer those now.
Okay, thank you very much, Natalie. Anyone have any comments or questions for Natalie? Go ahead, Councillor
Through you,
Caddy.
Mayor Lamb, why the switch from 10 years to 5 years?
We do have some contracts, through your mayor, we do have some contracts that are still 10 years. I would say some of our larger clients are anywhere between 10 and 20 years. During the last 10 years with COVID, we had dramatic fluctuations in expenses that took place as part of our second presentation. And we have kind of resorted back to doing a 5-year plus another 5-year that allows a kind of a reset in between to have a look at any adjustments that need to be made during that term. We're still open to 10-year agreements, but there are some additional clauses that go in them now to protect the municipality and Aqua if any labor negotiations were to take place during that time or major global upsets that start to change costing for our regular materials.
Thank you.
That's your question. Okay, any other comments or questions? Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you through, Mayor. A couple of questions. Thanks very much. Natalie, nice to see you again. And thank you for looking after us during the ice storm. It's much appreciated. Over the past 10 years, I'm sure there was some lessons learned regarding our municipality and how your program applies. Are any of those lessons learned being transferred into the new 5-year plan? And what were they? What were any of the lessons learned?
Through your worship.
Okay.
In terms of lessons learned, I'm not sure that I think we've had more realizations about what can happen in the global economy and what that can mean for a long-term operating agreement. I will bring this to Brent too, from an operational perspective, if he has any ideas about things that have been learned. But I know one thing that we have noticed as well is, 10 years ago, you can have very few service line breaks. And over a 10-year period, that can begin to creep up and change on an annual basis, which can add labor expenses that we may not have been able to predict. So I would say that's something that we have taken into account when looking at the new contract and the new pricing. Can I direct back to see?
Please do, yeah. Yeah.
Brent, can you or Lynette, can you think of any lessons learned that we've applied?
Through you, Mayor, I was just going to add that Natalie was touching on just the costs and COVID. And I don't think anyone expected what would have come out of that with the cost of chemicals, getting chemicals, the cost of equipment and everything just skyrocketing. So I think that is definitely a lesson learned and why we are shrinking that gap a little just to make sure everything is covered off.
And it's through you, Mr. Mayor. As far as operations, it's pretty much the same thing, but there are changes in regulations and standards that come along that change how we operate a bit. So we might have to do additional audits, we might have to do additional inspections, change the equipment a little bit, stuff like that, but not anything major on the operations side.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor Braber.
Through you, Mayor. Just second question. Thanks very much. Have you identified any potential for cost savings for the municipality in the 5-year plan that's going to be implemented?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we've recently applied for an amendment on our permit where we're able to switch the types of filters that we're using, and the filters that we're switching to are there's cost savings on those over the other types of filters.
Part B,
Councillor Braber, yeah.
second question.
Okay,
Yeah.
you only said two.
Yeah, I didn't say there's part A's in here. That being said, what my mind is brought back to is last year and the year before, presentations of all the pipe breaks and whatnot. And I know it's infrastructure and it's aging and whatnot. Do you collaborate with staff at all, saying, okay, we've looked at that, and, potentially should be looking at, replacing it or replacing it with a more up to date?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, we've had that discussion quite a bit. We have looked at different options and we have looked at potentially larger projects, but the upfront cost of going ahead and replacing everything is like an enormous task, an enormous financial burden on the community to undertake it all at once.
Yeah, I'm thinking more incremental.
Yeah, so it pretty much is the most cost effective to do it as they come up.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I'm thinking there's probably potential for some provincial funding if we do major infrastructure projects like you were discussing. Any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go
Yeah,
ahead.
thanks, Mayor Lamson. 2 questions and a comment. The first question is around the work orders, the 3,361. Do they all require somebody to be on site, or can some of those be managed off site through computers and other means?
Through your worship, they are managed on site. They are physical tasks
Wow.
being done to the equipment.
That's a lot.
Yeah, whether it be oiling or greasing or update.
Okay, thank you for that. The second question, I assume you spoke about cost recovery. I assume you're a government not-for-profit organization.
Yes, we are a cost recovery agency, so we don't receive any type of funding support from the province, but we are not mandated to make any type of profit.
Not mandated to.
We do not make a profit. We're a cost recovery.
You're
That's a
being
better
thoughtful.
answer. Thank you. Ah, Part B, right.
This is question
Rubbing
two,
off.
part B.
And the comment, if I will, correct me if I'm wrong, our CAO, but this is basically a user pay program. So while we have a few water systems in the municipality, the people that actually utilize those water systems pay for the aqua supporting and managing this. So I just wanted to clarify that for everybody. And I'm seeing a head shaking, so I got it right.
Any other comments or questions? See, no, I just have a comment about the spare parts. I mean, I'm sure you're stocking all the parts that you know are going to wear out because supply chains can disrupt, as we know, and some things can escalate in price and they drop back down. So it'd be nice to have a good supply of the wear parts that you know you're going to, I'm sure you must. I see that was an item in there, but can anyone speak to that?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Another advantage that we have is we use the same equipment in a variety of our different facilities. So usually like within my cluster, we've got pretty much everything that we can typically go through. If one facility doesn't have it, we can borrow it from another facility and replace it again. And yeah, we do keep what we need in emergencies on hand.
Excellent. Very good. I've never thought about borrowing from another. Yeah, that's a great idea. Hey, any other comments or questions? I look forward to using that aqua on tap sometime. I don't know if we've ever used it in Trent Lakes, but I think that would be kind of nice at a few of the different functions we have.
Yeah, absolutely, anytime.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments, questions? No? Okay. We thank you very much for your presentation. We
Thank you.
certainly appreciate it. Would anyone be prepared to make a motion to receive that? Councilor Cadigan for a motion to receive and Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. Any further conversation about that item? Seeing no hands, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you very much. Okay. We can retrieve Councilor Franzen. He's coming. No, he left the building. He's going. Welcome back, Councilor Brandon.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we can move on now to item 9 of our agenda, which is delegations. We have none. Item 10 is staff reports. 10.1 is public works, and 10.1.1. Matt Winges, would you like to speak to this item, please?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm here today to present the 2025 waste and recycling summary for your information. I'll provide a brief overview of the year, and then I'm happy to take any questions specific to it. It was a busy year for our department between the ice storm response, preparing for the acceptance of the non-eligible sources with the blue box transition, and installing the semi-underground organics receptacles in Bobcaygeon. But through it all, our staff remained resilient and professional, and we continue to benefit from residents who are generally cooperative and understanding during these periods of change. The organics program at the Bobcaygeon transfer station is now fully operational, and participation has been very good. Based on that, we're pretty confident in moving forward with the expansion to the remaining sites, alongside a focused public outreach campaign to support the rollout. We also ran the marine plastics drop-off pilot at the Cavendish transfer station over the summer. Participation was limited and the costs kind of outweighed the benefits. So we won't be continuing with the program this year. However, there's been some interest from neighboring municipalities and even from the county, and hopefully in the future we can have some sort of collaboration, which would make a little more sense. We could do a little more advertising and share some of the costs. Despite operational challenges this year, we maintained our level of service. According to Peterborough County's 2025 report, per capita solid waste went up 2% across the county, whereas Trent Lakes went down 1%. This reflects well on our residents and on our programs. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone have any comments or questions? Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you through you, Mayor. Thanks very much. Just two questions on the recycling diversion programs, the percentage increase. First one, 216% on the empty automotive plastics.
So a few of those can be very difficult to calculate on an annual basis. Often material that we get in Q4 isn't picked up until Q1, and we can't track it as it comes in. We can only really track it as it goes out. So, you know, one year it's high, one year it's low. It's not always 100% accurate. And in the case of the automotive, that was one of them where we had a bunch that from the previous year that carried over.
Last
Question
one
number
is-
two.
Just from number two, no A's or B's. The 791% increase for the leave in yard, that's ice storm.
It was very difficult, again, to calculate since the transfer stations were involved with all of it. Of course, you know, Public Works was much of that, of course, gathering and people bringing it in. But so that also included a lot of the community center brush because it was eventually brought to the transfer station or it was ground outside. Essentially, we would have received it at the transfer station, so we just counted it in there. But like you say, it's not a very good metric for for future years. It's an anomaly.
I just wanted to thank you and your staff as well. This is a comment, not a question.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with it. I was feeling it was coming.
Just wanted to thank you and your staff during the ice storm and post ice storm for always being flexible to shift the goalposts, because I know they were too hard. Okay, that's it. We're not accepting it anymore. And you saw it, and your staff saw your way clear to keep those going. And that was important. I got a lot of good feedback from that. So thank you.
As did I. I mean, having many different spots to take it was really helpful in this municipality. And 791% increase, I absolutely don't think that's anywhere near what we had.
Yeah.
I just think that's 1 million degrees. It's unbelievable how much. And there's still lots of that piled up everywhere, and there's still lots to be taken away and be dealt with. So thank you very much. And Deputy Armstrong, you had a question.
I do. I've got three things.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mayor Lamson. The first one is organics. Disappointing to see that it went down. And I'm hoping, as we talked about when we put in the 2 new containers at Cavendish and Crystal Lake, that we'll do a big promotion campaign to try and drive people to separate their organics and dispose of them properly. So hope to see that one go way up next year. The second one was on alcohol containers, way up 42%. I just wanted to point out, I don't think you have a estimate, but the organizations that put those bins in there for collection make a lot of money recycling. Oh, you do have it.
I do have a figure.
Okay, yeah, that's something we should promote because it's another way that we as a municipality support and help our volunteer organizations in the community. So please go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I know that Community Care each year puts up on the board how much they've raised, and I've spoken to our groups this year about providing some information about what they spent it on, maybe some pictures that we can put on our website, stuff like that, to show what it's actually being spent on. But this previous year, so in 2025, raised across all 4, so in total, $48,000.
There we go. Yeah, I knew it was a substantial amount of money, so I think we should start promoting that. It really is a way that we help our community members raise money. They do the work, but we provide the space. So thank you for that. And the third thing, can we calculate, I know with the shift to producer responsibility, it's been difficult. Can we figure out what our diversion rate is? We used to really publicize that, and we were the best in the county in terms of our diversion. Can we calculate that anymore?
Yeah, and I believe it is in the county report. It is difficult now that we don't have the data, and we've yet to see if they're even going to release the data once that's asked for. But that is a number that I'm working towards having, because like you say, it is actually quite a valuable metric, I think.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Any more?
No, I said.
Not a B, not a
I
B,
had my
there's not a
I
3B.
stick to my,
I
stick to
know.
my word.
Thank you very much, Deputy Armstrong. Any other comments or questions? I just have a comment about organics. That is one of the single most frustrating thing to see 20 to 25% of all our weight of our garbage is organics, which could absolutely be taken somewhere else. And I think it's really incumbent on this council and our staff to be putting organics recycling front and foremost in transfer stations. And I think it's if more people get onto it, they'll take it there. I think that's just advertise and keep talking to your neighbors. We'll get better. And it's like, if we reduce our garbage by 20%, that's a huge amount. Thank you for doing that. Okay. Well, go ahead, Councilor Trent.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to follow up on that comment. Whenever I go into landfill site, they're always saying, if you have some organics, please bring them down here as well. So staff is really promoting the organics.
Excellent, thank you. It's nice to hear that because that's our front line of opportunity to communicate. So thank you for that comment, Councilor Franzen. Any other comments? Councilor Fraser, go ahead.
Thank you. Motion to receive.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councilor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. You weren't voting, were you? Okay, we can move on. Thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate that, Matt. We can move on to item 10.2 of our agenda, which is recreation facilities. We have none. 10.3, we have fire and emergency services. We have none. And 10.4 is building and planning. And 10.4.1, Duncan Anderson, our municipal bylaw and our enforcement officer. Would you please speak to that item? Welcome, Duncan.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. It's Duncan Anderson, Manager, Municipal Law Enforcement Officer. Staff are recommending that council receive the report from the Municipal Law Enforcement Officer regarding respectful interactions policy. And further, the respectful interactions policy attached as Appendix 1 be adopted. The policy before you was developed to ensure that there's an environment that is mutually respectful and tolerant for both members of council and, not members of council, members of public and staff. It was identified in day-to-day that the current policies for Trent Lakes is more for interactions between staff and how to handle inappropriate behavior internally. There is a respect in the workplace policy, which does apply to the public, but there's no clear delineation on how to deal with some of their interactions if they do become inappropriate. So the policy provides for a transparent, fair, and equitable approach should staff encounter any disrespectful behavior. If approved, a copy of the policy would be posted at all municipal facilities, the Trent Lakes website, and staff or employees will receive appropriate direction to gain an understanding of the responsibilities to provide the public. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much, Duncan. Duncan Anderson, anyone have any comments or questions for Duncan? Seeing no hands, you must have did an excellent report.
Perfect.
Okay, I think we need a motion here. Anyone prepared to make a motion? Councilor Cadigan, go ahead.
Motion to receive the report
There's another part of it.
and be adopted.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councilor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation about the motion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you very much, Duncan Anderson.
Thank you.
Okay, we can now move on to item 10.4.2. And Eric Gay, our Director of Building and Planning and CBO, would you like to speak to this item, please?
Welcome. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The report you have before you is the annual report for the costs associated with enforcement of the Building Code Act. Now, as a point of clarification and for full disclosure, I will note that there is a $270 difference as a calculation error that was made that was captured after the report was submitted. So I will note the changes for council's review and for the public record as I go through the report. The Building Code Act establishes that a council of a municipality is responsible for the enforcement of the act and for appointing such staff as are necessary to ensure enforcement. To offset the costs incurred, the act authorizes the municipality to implement permit fees as part of the building permit application process. However, subsection 7.2 of the act requires that all fees collected must not exceed the anticipated reasonable cost to enforce the act. To ensure compliance with this requirement, section 1.9 of Division C of the Ontario Building Code prescribes the specific provisions for annual reporting of the permit fees. Those provisions are as follows: total fees collected for the year, direct and indirect costs associated with direct and indirect costs associated with delivering enforcement of the act, a breakdown of the costs, the total amount within any reserve fund established for any purpose relating to the administration and enforcement of the act. So the attached report is intended to satisfy all of the reporting requirements of the legislation and the associated regulation. As per the attached, in 2025, the building department had a deficit of, and this is a correction here, of $60,579.42. There's the $270 discrepancy there. The January 1st, 2025 opening balance in the building department reserve was $248,960.32, resulting in a year-end balance of, and again, this is a corrected number, of $188,380.90. Subsection 7.5 of the Act goes on to require that the municipality shall make its report available to the public in a manner required by regulation. As the building code currently does not prescribe the manner in which it's to be made public, the majority of municipalities would post it to their website, and that's what we're looking to do today. I'm happy to take any questions if you have them.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mark, to you. Anyone have any comments or questions for Eric? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Lamson. Thanks very much, Eric. I know we've seen this from our CAO before, but I know that some years we have deficits, some years we have surpluses, and it's quite a bit of variability in terms of, because we're guessing in terms of what the volume will be, and we set our rates to try and recover costs. So I guess my question is, will we be reviewing our fee structure based on the fact that we have a deficit this year?
Through you, Mayor, absolutely. We will be looking at our permit fees this year as well. It appears that the bulk of my colleagues within the county are doing the same to try and offset some of these operational costs. I will note that there was a news report recently that was showing that the GTA is looking at a downsize or slowdown with new builds that are happening. So that could very well have some creep effect, domino effect up, for us as well too. So, but we will be reviewing our fees, and we will be bringing some forward at the next budget deliberations.
Good. Any other comments or questions? Councilor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thanks very much, Eric. Appreciating that you're new in your role, and perhaps our CAO could assist if need be with regards to the deficit. In the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years, have we been operating in a deficit?
I would have to defer to Madam CEO. I don't believe we have, but she may have a better idea.
Donna Taggart, SCBO Treasurer, go ahead.
Thank you. I do know there was a deficit last year. We'd have to, definitely not over the past 5 years. I can speak to the deficit in 2025 was largely due to the use of a third-party firm that was not anticipated when the budget was set.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? I'm seeing none. Is anyone prepared to make a motion? No motion today. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm moving to receive the report and to direct staff to make the attached report available to the public by posting a copy on our website.
Okay, thank you. I have a seconder. Is Councilor Braber for a seconder? Any further conversation? Seeing Councillor Bear.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
through you, Mayor. Should we be also including a direction to that the 60,849.42 be drawn from the building department reserve? Do we need to add on?
Would that be appropriate to add that to that motion?
Thank you, Mr. Yu. You can, we are able to do that
Okay.
through the act, but we don't typically ask that.
Okay.
You can.
That's fine.
Okay. We have a seconder. We have any other comments? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we can move on to item 10.5 of our agenda, which is finance, and 10.5.1. Donna Taggart, our CAO treasurer, would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you, and through you. Before you is the report that is required annually under Ontario Regulation 28409. So the purpose of this report is to provide council with a statement of what has been excluded from the 2026 budget in accordance with Public Sector Accounting Board standards. So tax rates, as a reminder, are set based on cash requirements and therefore don't include PSAB requirements around accrual accounting and accounting for non-financial assets. So expenses excluded from the budget include amortization, post-closure landfill expenses, and post-employment liabilities. As a reminder, there are amounts budgeted annually to replace assets. We monitor the landfills, and those amounts are included in the Public Works budget annually. And we also budget for benefits for eligible employees that have retired. So therefore, staff are looking today for council to receive the Ontario Regulation 28409 report for information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Donna Taggart. You make that more interesting than some.
Good. This is fairly
Have a
dull.
comment or question or prepared to make a motion? I'm gonna hear about that, I know.
Motion to receive for information.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? I'm seeing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Thank you very much, Donna Taggart.
Thank you.
Now we can move on to 10.5.2 of our agenda. And Donna Taggart, our CAO treasurer, would you like to speak to this item, please?
Yes, thank you. So before you is a report and a summary on amounts to be awarded under the 2026 Community Grant Program. So as required under the grant policy, council have now individually scored and recommended amounts to be awarded using the municipality's evaluation matrix. So Appendix A to this report includes the average amounts calculated based on that scoring provided by council. So as a reminder, there's 68,324.26 included in the 2026 budget for funding of these grants. So therefore, staff are looking for council to receive the report and also approve awarding the amounts as outlined in Appendix A, totaling $66,720 with the balance of $1604.26 being made available in 2026 for miscellaneous grants. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Donna Taggart. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Councillor.
Through your Mayor Lamb said, the very last one there, Twin Mountain Snowmobile Club was asking for $50,000. And the high was $4,000 to be allotted. And so the final sum is 2,000. I'm just trying to figure out the math on that. Was there one person that requested the 4,000? And that's how you came up with 2,000?
So thank you, and through you. So amounts are determined by taking the totals and dividing by 5. So the total amount, some suggested 0, some suggested an amount. When you divide that by 5, it comes to 2,000.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Franzen, go ahead.
Yeah, I received a call from Gary Gross from the Cavendish repairs and said that more than likely his project would not be able to proceed because we didn't allow enough money for the project.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure we've all received a phone call or a message from some form, but I don't understand why it can't proceed. It just has to proceed on a smaller scale, right? And there is some volunteers and some other ways to generate some I mean, I've already had this conversation with a rental company. I can probably get a machine for nothing. I can, you know, I've offered my own services for some stuff, so it will proceed in some form, I'm sure. Councilor Baker, go ahead.
Thank you, through your mayor. I too had a conversation. And I understand, resulting from that conversation I had, it may be that this initiative could be tackled in 2 seasons. So, and potentially, as far as looking for monies from other areas, just due to the fact that it's an environmental type issue. But that can be revisited down the road. But I think if that group is able to tackle it in 2 seasons, that might be able to get that number up.
There's many of them. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks very much. I also received a phone call. I'm not sure that I appreciate that. Receiving it from 1 out of 20, although I understand the issue that they've got. What I wanted to say was, I think the process worked very well. I mean, nobody's going to be completely happy, but we knew that when you have, 3 times the amount of requests, then you have money to give out for. But I think the process worked fairly in that each of us weighted our responses in favor of those that we felt strongly about, which you could consider a bias or a passion or whatever. But I think we had the opportunity to express that through the numbers that we put forward. And then at the end of the day, each of us gets 1/5 of the value that we end up with. So I think the process is fair. I think it's transparent. Again, not everybody, most people won't be happy, some will. But we knew that was going to happen just based on the ask. The only other, so it's a comment, I guess. The only other comment I would make is I think we need to next year be very clear in letting, before we accept applications, let everybody know how much money we have to spend. I suspect one of them who'd never applied before really didn't understand the process and had no idea how much money we had available. So I think we need to make it very clear up front so that people make reasonable requests. And I think they will if they understand the process and the amount of money that we have available.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. I couldn't agree more. That process, it works. It's everybody's opinion, it gets everybody's ideas, and you go through the list, you see who qualifies for what, and everybody brings out a number, and we divide it by 5, and I think that works. It gets a very fair process to everybody. So thank you for that comment. Okay, any other comments or questions? I don't think I have a motion. So anyone prepared to make a motion? Councilor Cadigan, go ahead.
Motion to receive the report and approve the awarding of the amounts as outlined.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Councilor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion was carried. Okay, we can move now on to item 10.5.3 of the agenda, which is Donna Taggart, our CAO treasurer. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Yes, thank you, and through you. Before you is the 2026 Trent Lakes budget and associated tax rates for approval today. Next, please. Thank you. So this slide shows the assessment summary, reflects the current value assessment for 2026, which is up 1.17%, with 94.95% of that assessment being in the residential class. As a reminder, the province continues to delay reassessments province-wide, and values remain frozen at January 1, 2016, so they are now 10 years old. Next, please. When looking at the growth, the dollar value associated with the 1.17% is almost 33 million, with about 98% of that being in the residential class. The assessment increase for 2026 is the difference between the January 1, 2025 value and the December 31st, 2025 value, and includes things like new builds and renovations and reductions in assessments from fires or demolitions. So the total 2026 municipal budget is up 3.7 million for a total of 24,781,137 in 2026. And this budget is increased due to the build of the new fire hall and public works building in Buckhorn. So the tax levy is budgeted to increase by 4.99% in 2026 for a total of 11,955,229. The tax levy is the amount that is paid by the ratepayers with the balance of funding coming from grants, user fees, borrowing, and reserves. So what does that increase on the average assessment or the average amount of 100,000? It increases $16.01 on every 100,000. So this slide is showing the new residential tax rate increase. So it'll be 3.84%. So this slide shows how much more between 2025 and 2026 the average residential property owner in Trent Lakes would pay, which is $84.50 using the average assessed value for 2026 in 3 different classes, which is $416,883.20. And those classes are single family detached on the water, and seasonal dwellings on the water. And once again, that increase is just for Trent Lakes. That does not include the county and education. So what impacted the budget in 2026? You'll see that there are continued costs for the increased training requirements for emergency services and increased costs for fire dispatch and radio service agreements. There are also wage increases with increases negotiated under the CUPE contract and the compensation review approved by council, plus a change to once again split the CAO Director of Finance treasurer role into 2. There are also increased costs to replace equipment and rolling stock, vehicle maintenance, fuel, and increased costs most certainly for policing, insurance, and legal fees. So cost savings are included in the budget as well. We continue to try to digitize and create process efficiencies. We try to joint purchase with the county as much as possible for things like surface treatment, winter sand, calcium chloride. We try to connect on training when we can as well. We also have the revenue again for the producer responsibility included in the budget. There are waste initiatives to try to reduce waste haulage costs, and new revenue for the communication tower located at the Crystal Lake Transfer Station, and reduce budgets in building and planning for consulting, planning software, and mileage. So the 2026 budget does contain an increase of 11% or $185,745 for the OPP billing. The calculated billing received for municipal policing in 2026 would have resulted in a 27% increase or $456,000. However, the province did end up capping the increase, although it isn't known at this time if that capping will happen again in the future. So when apportioning the budget, you'll see that the biggest percentage of costs are associated with capital, and public works would come next, with the smallest portion being recreation or parks and recreation. So this slide shows 48.24% of the budget required in 2026 comes through taxation, with the remaining amount, or 51.76%, for non-tax revenue, which is borrowing, reserves, grants, and user fees. So the 2026 tax levy for capital is $621,036.47. And this budget includes the new build in Buckhorn, as I've already talked about, road rehabilitation, which includes Bessie Avenue North in 2026, the Lakehurst Bowl project, Cavendish Hall accessible washroom upgrade, and replacement vehicles and equipment, including new generators at Lakehurst and Galway Halls. With the new build in Buckhorn, 70.49% of the capital budget in 2026 is for facility work, with the second largest spending and closely followed by public works for road reconstruction. It's vehicle and equipment replacement. So slides 16 to 20, if you don't mind, Bianca, really show the impact of all departments for the portion of the tax levy. And the largest impact is Public Works at 4.3 million, followed by other protection services with the OPP levy in that budget at 2.7 million. So although these slides contain specific spending, and we're here to answer any questions you may have, slides 21 and 22, if you don't mind, really show how that's broken down and how much the average person will pay. So these show that based on the new tax rate and the average assessed value of that 416,883, the average property would pay $1,804.69, and we have provided for you in each department how that would be apportioned and some of the services that each department provide to the municipality and the resident. So that is all we have. So we're looking for council today to approve, and there is a tax rate bylaw later on, the budget and the new tax rate for 2026. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Donna Taggart. Anyone have any comments or questions for Don? Go ahead, Councillor Brayberg.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. The Lakehurst Hall Lower Bowl project, the numbers, is that factored in that the grant? Is the grant taken out of that and whatever's remaining?
So thank you, and through you. That slide reflected what projects were taking place, but you're absolutely correct that that is being funded largely through a grant. It did come in a little bit higher than anticipated, but it's largely funded by a grant.
So that the full amount is reflected here. So the grant really hasn't been taken out of that yet.
So thank you, and through you. The full amount is there because that's the full amount.
Okay.
The revenue portion, or to offset that, so it's not collected through taxation, is included in the revenue portion of the budget. But we do have to include the entire expense in there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Lamson. I just want to thank the staff in particular in getting this down to a 4.99% tax levy increase. At one point, because of the needed vehicle replacements and facilities, we were looking at an increase of nearly 8 or 9%. And staff went back and looked at areas where they could reduce some of their budget numbers. And we managed to work through the timing on some of these things. And the fact that we were able to get it down to 4.99, I think is a real testament to the hard work of our staff in looking at these many times and harshly. So really appreciate that. I think that's a good news story, particularly compared to some of the other tax rates that I have seen from neighboring and other municipalities this year. So I just want to give a big thank you to the staff for all their hard work on getting us to the under 5%. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that comment. Any other comments or questions? Page 21 and 22. I think we should have that as a handout so that we can show people where, quite often you hear, well, where does our money go? Well, that shows you where the money goes. It's a lot of things get done in Trent Lakes, and we appreciate all our efforts from all our staffs. Okay, is anyone prepared to make a motion? Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
I will make the motion, if somebody could put it up, to receive that report and to approve the budget and tax rates for 2026.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. We can now move on to item. Thank you very much, Donna Taggart. We can move on to 10.6 of our agenda, which is administration. We have none. 10.7 is corporate services, and 10.7.1 is Bianca Dragicevic, our deputy clerk. Would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lamson. Before council are the expenses received for the month of January for council's authorization. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Motion to receive and authorize payment.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. We can move on to 10.7.2, which is Jesse Clark, our Director of Corporate Services. Clerk, would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lamstead, in anticipation of the 2026 municipal and school board elections, staff are reviewing all election-related material, and this includes specific bylaws and policies that require council approval. The first was the municipal recount policy. Staff reviewed the existing policy and are not recommending any changes. The second was minor updates to the use of corporate resources for election purposes policy. The updates expanded upon the technology, facilities, and communications related provisions. And a bylaw to adopt the policy is on today's agenda for council's consideration. The third is the delegation of authority for restricted acts after nomination day. And staff recommends supporting a bylaw to delegate authority to the CAO for the restricted acts after nomination day or the lame duck period. And a bylaw is included on today's agenda for council's consideration. And finally, the election sign bylaw. Staff are recommending updates to the election sign bylaw, including adding and updating definitions for consistency, reordering of content for better readability, and providing distinction for the placement of election signs on public versus private property. Staff recommends supporting changes to the election sign bylaw, and a bylaw is included on today's agenda for council's consideration.
Okay, thank you very much, Jesse Clark. Anyone have any comments or questions? Seeing none. Is anyone prepared to make some form of motion? Councilor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to receive and to support the recommendations by staff.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councilor Franzen for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. We can move on to item 11 of our agenda, which is notice of motion. Does anyone have a notice of motion to put in? Seeing none, we can move on to item 12, which is correspondence for information. We have 4 items there. If we can receive them all at the same time or discuss them individually. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Thank you, Mayor Lamstead. I'd like to pull out 12.1 and 12.3 for
Okay, well, we
discussion.
might as well do them all one at a time.
Okay.
Would you like to speak to item 12.1?
I would, thank you, Mayor Lamstead. In the terms of reference, for the Cavendish Community Policing Committee, it states that they are a committee of council, which in fact they are not. I sent a letter to Deb Pajot about that and recommended that they change the terms of reference to reflect that. And if they were interested in being committee of council, then they should come forward with a request. But the terms of reference as they are now stated are obviously not correct.
I'm sure that will get changed.
So perhaps our representative can make sure that I didn't want to embarrass everybody. So I just sent it to Deb and said, please change this.
That's fair. Thank you very much for bringing that to their attention. They at this point are not a committee of council. I think one time they were, but I don't think they are.
I think they were at one time, but they weren't longer.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we can go to item 12.2.
Oh, sorry. So a motion to receive with that suggestion to have it changed.
Okay.
If that's the right wording. No.
We can't direct them to do anything, as they're not a committee of council.
Maybe we should just defer a decision on that one until we can discuss that with them maybe.
Yeah, because I don't
we
think we
don't
want to
wanna-
receive it as
yeah,
it is.
No.
So maybe a motion to defer.
Second.
Second. Okay, motion deferred by Councillor Armstrong, Deputy Armstrong, seconded by Councillor Cadigan. Any other conversation? Seeing, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Lamstead. Perhaps I could, in accordance with the defer provisions, know when to bring it back or what? Or is it deferred for a certain time period or?
Go ahead, Councillor Braber has a comment.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. There's an option to first and second it and then vote on it and have the vote fail and then it goes back to, they can resubmit. I'm not sure.
We have a
Unless
motion
that's
to
the same.
defer at this point.
Okay.
Well, I could amend my motion to defer acceptance of this item for a maximum of 2 months until such time as the information has been resubmitted. Is that what you're looking for?
Perhaps I could just clarify that a motion to receive doesn't mean you accept the information or approve it.
Okay.
It's just simply that it's been before council.
I still like the motion to defer. To
Okay,
stand.
all right, well, it can come back on probably our next meeting, because all they're gonna do is change that they're not a committee of council. They're just a standalone committee. So I think that
Right,
can
let's
be
give them
changed.
a maximum of 2 months. I don't know
Yeah,
how often they
okay.
meet, and the
Yep,
board has to
okay.
agree to it. So
Yep.
there's no urgency, so I think a maximum of 2 months is a reasonable timeframe.
Okay, perfect. Make sure Councillor Cadigan gets that
Yes.
to our, okay, perfect. Thank you very much. We have a motion, we have a seconder, we've had conversation. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. Thank you. We can move on now to item 12.2 of our agenda, which is Eastern Ontario Warden's Caucus. Would anyone like to speak to that or make a motion? Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Motion to receive.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Franzen for a seconder. Any conversation about that motion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. We can move on to item 3 of the agenda, which is Galway Hall Board minutes. Anyone like to speak to that item, or would you be prepared to make a motion? Deputy Armstrong, go
Thank
ahead.
you, Vincent. Yeah, in their minutes under other business, it says that septic tank inspections reinstated in 2027 with the goal of 600 inspections per year. And I believe the motion was to defer it to budget discussions in 2027. So perhaps that it's not as important as the terms of reference, but it is an incorrect statement. And we don't want people thinking that that has been committed to for 2027. So that's an error that also needs to be corrected.
Okay, perfect. We can do that on the fly, I think. We can still receive the report. It doesn't change our. Yeah, okay.
Receive it.
Yeah.
And request that our representative bring that to the attention of the Galway Hall.
Perfect. Okay, adequate. All right, any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay, we can move on to item 12.4 of our agenda, which is Honorable Robert J. Flack, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Anyone like to speak to that? Councillor Braber, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, just a comment. This was a result of our council's resolution that was sent in initially brought forward by AMO to challenge the ministry's changes to the owner's governance structure. So basically, it's thanking us for submitting a letter, but they're doing it anyway. So basically, but it doesn't stop us from rattling the chains. Doesn't preclude us from, voicing our positions. That's right.
If you're not the squeaky wheel, you don't get hurt. Okay. Do we have a motion? Is anybody prepared to make a motion for that? Councillor Braber?
Motion to receive.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. We can move on to item 13 of our agenda, which is correspondence for action. And item 13.1 is County of Prince Edward. Anyone like to speak to that item, or is prepared to make a motion? Councillor Franzen, go ahead.
I support their position. I believe farmland's very valuable and we should protect it and not build subdivisions on top of valuable farmland.
Okay, is anyone prepared to second that motion to support this idea? Councillor Braber, for a seconder. Any further conversation? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Franzen. Now we can move on to item 14 of our agenda, which is bylaws. We have several bylaws on our agenda. Would anyone like to speak to each one, or we can do them all at one time? With one motion. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, go ahead.
I would make a motion to approve all of the bylaws on the agenda.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. Anyone like to speak up to any of those motions or items? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. All right, now we can move on to item 15 of our agenda, which is announcement. Does anyone have anything to announce? Deputy Armstrong, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Lamson. Just letting everybody know, the library board, which is a separate entity, the chair, Margaret Roberts, has stepped down for the balance of the committee's term, which is to November. And she's been replaced through an election of the board by the vice chair, which is Peter Raymond, and a new vice chair, Ken Staines, was also elected for that meeting.
Good. Okay, thank you.
No other changes, just
Mhm.
personnel swap.
Yeah, well,
And Margaret Roberts will continue to serve on the board. She just has a lot of other personal commitments
Yeah.
at the moment.
Okay.
Couldn't fully commit.
well, thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. She's been invaluable there for many years, I must admit. So many thanks to Margaret. Okay, thank you for that announcement. Now we can move on to item 16 of our agenda, which is our closed meeting. I would entertain a motion to go into closed. Councillor Cadigan for a mover. Councillor Franzen for a seconder. And the reason we are going into closed is on the authority of the Ontario Municipality, section 239(2), to discuss B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, municipal employees. C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, potential acquisition. D, labor relations or employee negotiations, municipal employees. And I, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably and be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position of the or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group, or of persons or organizations' financial information for Ontario Clean Water Agency contract renewal. That are the many reasons we are going into close. And I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. We are going into close. Okay, we can move on now to item 16.2 of our agenda, which is rise from our closed meeting. I would entertain a motion to rise. Councillor Brabert for a mover, Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. We are back in our regular council meeting. So we can move on to item 17 of our agenda, which is business arising from the closed meeting. Item 17.1 is adoption of the minutes from our February 3rd meeting. Is anyone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Cadigan for a mover, Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. Now we can move on to item 18 of our agenda, which is adoption of the confirming bylaw. Item 18.1 is our confirming bylaw 2026-021. Would anyone be prepared to make a motion? Councillor Brayberg, motion to adopt the. So do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Armstrong for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. And we can move on to item 19 of our agenda, which is adjournment. Would anyone care to make a motion to adjourn? Councillor Franzen for a mover. Councillor Cadigan for a seconder. I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion has carried. I'd like to thank everyone that's in our gallery virtually and physically, and all of our staff and council.